Hey, welcome to All Things Social Security. You're about to see a question from a live viewer and my response, and it may or may not have an attached additional set of information for you, but you'll see a little invitation to that if that's the case. If what you're looking for is representation and you want us to take a look at your claim, please go to joydisability.com and look in your upper left-hand corner for the link for the free SSD evaluation. And we will take care of that for you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Enjoy the video. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Just addressing an issue where this came up under one of the videos, the one called remand hearing. Sorry, I'm slipping all over the place. What it is and how you handle it. And there was a comment in there, and I just thought I'd touch base on this. So for Spring, who posted it, thank you. Spring asked, what if your doctor says you have exhausted new treatments and we have to just continue what we are doing? Now, you've probably heard me in other videos, I talk about don't stop going to the doctor. A lot of people stop when nothing's going to improve their situation. And let's say it's true that nothing's going to improve the situation and even if you stop, it's not going to get worse because you stopped. So the temptation, of course, I get it, is to stop because it's inconvenient to go to the doctor. I know. And it could cost you copays. There's a plethora of reasons. But when you have a Social Security disability case, Spring, you don't want to stop for that. The mere presence of going to the doctor's office creates a medical visit. It's where your complaints are going over, whether you've improved, whether you stay the same, whether you've deteriorated. And that right there is a snapshot of a day, of which there will be many before it and many after it, of where your complaints are and how they are consistent, inferred, consistent with the things you've been treated for, the treatments that you've gotten, that you haven't rejected treatments and refused to do them, particularly if they're conservative, and you've been a good patient, so to speak. If you didn't go to the doctor and still have those complaints that are showing up in the medical record now, but you stopped 2 years ago, because heck, there's nothing they can do for me, there is no evidence that you still, A, have the diagnosis, and B, need treatment for it. It is so innocuous. So it is so important. I can't emphasize it. I can't emphasize it enough to go for the follow-ups. And I would say, and I say this a lot, as frequent as reasonably tolerated, meaning from a common sense point of view. So that means you can go more frequent than maybe your neighbor would go. And again, because you really want to build that content. It sounds funny, but it's almost like content to show continuity, that it's important to you, that the effects on your life and your functioning and your capacity are worth paying attention to. When we don't go, it really does optically look like it's not a big deal. Now, again, going back to when going doesn't help you, at least it's monitoring. And it's, you can be talking about your ongoing complaints and how this particular symptom may be occurring more often. If it is, let's say it's incrementally, just a small bit increasing a little bit. And you wouldn't have normally gone to the doctor for it because that's something to be expected. But you did. And now it's on the record, because even if it occurred, if it's not stated in the medical record that it's gotten incrementally a tiny bit worse, it didn't happen. And now you're stable. And let's say those same kind of records were what you existed when you got denied on initial. Well, you've just established that nothing has changed from initial. So, of course, you're probably going to get the same result on recon. And depending on the case, the same thing at ALJ hearing. So going there and talking about how it's not getting better, how if it's incrementally worse, it's incrementally worse. And that could be frequency of a flare-up. So much depends on the actual impairment. More weakness, so not able to lift as much, or perhaps it's more frequent or less durational mild activity at home that requires the more frequent rest in the recliner. All of those things are not going to be known unless you go to those appointments. And as most of you know, I also kind of think it's a good idea, if you have a I have a patient portal in particular, although if there's other ways to design it, might be helpful. It's never a bad idea to advise your doctor in a message before you go to the visit of all the different complaints while you're not under pressure and you can think it through and tailor how you're going to say it so that he knows he's under constructive notice before you get to the appointment of what your complaints are. So that if you're given the bum's rush, which so many of us are when we go to the doctor, that stuff is in the file now. So they can't say you never communicated it. The official record set should have copies of those messages, meaning the official record set that the SSA orders. It's not going to be there from your portal records, which is why they're not quite as good. They're very useful, and we always want them, but they don't cover this particular area because most portals do not include in the document mass outlay. I want to go from just, January 1st, 2025 to 12/31/2025, that whole year. If I ask for that range, and this is particularly true in Epic, which is my chart, which a lot of big health networks use, and I do find it to be the best one. The little guys just they're not putting up. They're not putting out as good as they should be because of when you do the portal, the messages you did in the message section of your portal do not show up in those records. I don't know why. I think it's inappropriate. I really wish someone who's deeply tied to perfecting the medical HIPAA laws and all that would demand that they are. It almost seems like they're a violation because they are part of your record. It's your communication of your symptoms to your doctor. Let's say you were a mute and you couldn't talk. Are they going to say you have no complaints? No, you would be going through the portal. You'd be typing it. You'd be handing it on paper, whatever the case may be. So just other ways to get it in there. So when the SSA orders it, those complaints are there from the whole year prior. So it's not something you wait to do. You should be doing it all along. I hope that answered some of your concerns there, Spring. If there's nothing more about keeping on the same prescriptions or because he said just continue what we are doing, what are you doing? Right? Yeah, continue them and keep those follow-ups. I mean, ideally, it's like if it's a significant problem that a significant amount of which prevents you from working or contributes to your overall inability to work, why not go every 3 months? I would like to see that. That's ideal. I mean, when it's in an exacerbation, people sometimes go 2 weeks later. I realize that's not necessarily going to happen. But for follow-up, what about every 3 months, every 4 months, 3 times a year? That way there's always a new visit that's going to pop up where you are talking about the ongoing, oh my God, it won't stop nature of what you've got. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. I'm sure other professionals may have a different opinion, and that's fine. We all practice differently. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I'm going to share that to you, Spring, in an unlisted link that anyone who's watching this can go see under that video, remand hearing, what it is and how you handle it. And then later on, when we have in the queue of daily recorded videos, that one will come out in a few days. But Spring, you can have it, of course. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Thanks.